I'm from a small town. It's called Stroud. It's very hippie. It's very, very, very cool. It was kind of like vegan before vegan became like an influencer thing. It was like,
Yeah.
it was like sort of old people with beards and like druids kind of, like with long hair and sort of dreads before like dreads were cool and vegan food was cool. But it's very right on. Like Damien Hirst has an art studio there. He's a very famous artist. And then there's a company called Ecotricity that's like a big electricity company that sort of does like renewable energy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's cool. Yeah, it's a cool place.
That's cool, man. So, so like with the Chronicles of Narnia,
Yeah.
all right, what was how did you get cast as like, Peter?
Okay, so with the Chronicles of Narnia, it all started in my hometown actually. Like I was just saying, I'm from a very small town, and they were looking for village kids to be in a BBC TV show. I'd never acted, and they just asked me to go up and audition. I auditioned, I didn't get it. I was cast as an extra, but the casting director remembered me for Narnia 5 years later when she was casting Narnia. So she asked me to audition for that, and then I got the part of Narnia, and then yeah, that's that.
Oh, dude, that's cool. So did you like ever read Chronicles of Narnia before you like any of the books
Yeah.
before you got cast?
I used to listen to the story tape before bed. When I was about 10, I used to listen to the Silver Chair. So actually, I heard that they're making that movie next for Netflix, the Silver Chair. So actually, I really want to read the script. But yeah, they're making that next, and that's going to be kind of like the big kind of comeback, I think, for Narnia.
So are you gonna be involved in any of that possibly?
Well, my character's not in the book, so I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Peter's only featured in really 3 books, and he's sort of mentioned, I think, in The Horse and His Boy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they're also doing a TV series, aren't they too, along with like the films for Netflix?
Do you know? You probably know more than me. I don't know, but I hope so. I think it's cool for kids and for adults. Like what's quite nice about Narnia is that you can. I guess it's kind of like The Simpsons in some ways. You can be 5 and enjoy it, and you can be like my grandma's 95 and enjoy it. So I think Narnia kind of has that like that sort of like scope of age that can kind of engage people.
Yeah. So I guess like going back to like your audition, like was there any like any like special experience like with your audition, like anything that funny or happened or during it or?
Well, what's funny is I met Anna Popplewell on my first or second audition, and the auditioning process ended up being about a year and a half. But I think
Oh, wow.
kind of what got us through that audition, weirdly enough, was the fact that Anna's incredibly bright and incredibly sharp. And I met her when she was 13 and I was 15. And we had to play this game where it was a word game, sort of like a spinning thing where like lands on a word and then it lands on a letter, and it'd be like you pull a card, it'd be like a fruit, and then you turn it and it'd be like a fruit that would begin with like an N, a fruit beginning with N. And I just couldn't think of anything, and every time she'd be like some like random obscure fruit and just beat me at this game. And I think the director thought it was funny, that she kept destroying me over and over again, and I was just like left, like dumbfounded. So that kind of got us through this process. But it's funny, even I saw Anna yesterday because we're still friends, we're still really close. Went for a walk with her yesterday, and she really is like one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. She went to Oxford, studied English. She's, from a very bright family, and she's just an incredible person, actually.
Yeah. So I guess like with the whole cast and everything, like when did you like get to meet everyone, like like Lucy and Susan and Edmund and like all of them together?
All of us
Like,
together. All of us together for the first time in New Zealand when we first got cast. That was because Scando, who played Edmund, he was cast very late in the day. They were kind of struggling to find an Edmund, find somebody who was right for it. But he was just a really solid actor. And he kind of sort of came in through a friend of a friend, and then they liked his audition, and then he did some scenes with Tilda, I think, and then it just all worked out. So we met in New Zealand for the first time, all of us together.
That's cool. So did you film all of the Chronicles of Narnia in New Zealand?
We shot the first movie in New Zealand for 7 months, and then we shot 2 weeks in Prague, with a couple of days outside of the Czech Republic in the snow to get some exteriors. And then the second movie we shot 6 weeks in New Zealand, and so then we shot around mostly in the Czech Republic, Slovenia, Poland, just Austria, Germany, everywhere like that.
Okay. So like I guess like when they're like making the film, did they ever have anyone from like the author, like from can't think of his name right now, just lost me. The author for Chronicles of Narnia. Yes, Lewis, there it is. Thank you. Yeah. Did they have anyone from his estate there, like kind of coaching people like what to do like with the storyline or anything?
Yeah, that was very important to the story because C.S. Lewis's stepson, Douglas Gresham, was on set, and he was a co-producer on the movie, and so he was a co-producer on all the movies, actually. And he was very influential on the film and the way that it was made and the way that it was shot. And he was, really great about making sure that we kept the story, and then we, kept the film as solid as possible. And actually, he was totally influential in me being cast. He saw me in one of my tapes in the beginning, and he felt that I had the sensibility of Peter. So that was a massive bonus for me to have him on my side.
So what would you like? Would you do anything like in particular to like get ready like before you like shoot a scene or something to like get in like that mode of like King Peter?
Sometimes we do an improvisation. A lot of actors do that. I've noticed. I don't do it so much anymore, but sometimes I do it. Sometimes I do it. That just really comes down to the acting, and that comes down to participation of the other actors. But what you do, often, and I just work with an actor, who Matt Dillon is. Matt Dillon's an actor, a very good actor. He does that as well. Like we do like an improvisation in character, and you kind of stay as your character and you talk as your character, and then you go into the headspace of your character, and then you just go straight into the scene. And from there, you're kind of like you're in it, you're in the zone. Yeah. And sometimes you listen to music if that helps, but I really do find like running a dialogue even in your mind of what's going on, like where you are, what's happened, like what we're about to go through. It kind of brings like the before moment to the scene, which then drives the scene.
So I guess like so how many years was it between the first and second film again? I believe it was like a few, right?
It was 3. No, we shot the first one 2004. It came out 2005. We shot the second one 2007, and it came out 2008.
So like, was there anything you changed, like I guess with your character, like between those two? Like, did you develop, like I guess, how did you develop the character from the first to the second?
Well, I went to New York and I worked with an acting coach there called Sheila Gray, and she's one of the best acting coaches out there. She worked with De Niro. She worked with a lot of really, really great actors. And I went to her class, because I just happened, my girlfriend at the time was going to NYU, and we wanted to be together. And the executive producer, who sadly passed, Perry Moore, knew about Sheila Gray. He knew I was coming to New York, so he set me up to work with her. So I worked with her on we did basically method acting. We did sensory work, and we developed the character in the class. I worked with another actor, and because we already had the script, so we'd improvise the scenes, and then I would I learned the lines. I did it with her in private. So I worked really hard, and then I also did boxing training because I knew it was going to be a very physically demanding film. And I also did horse riding training as well. So I was ready to do all the horse stunts on top of that. So yeah, it was I took 4 months to prep it, and then we shot it for 7.
Oh, okay. So I mean, like, so with Skander, like, you know how he took over the third film. Was it
Yeah.
like what did it feel like passing the torch? I guess like onto him because I mean, obviously after playing that role, you probably missed it. I'm guessing. Um,
I really
yeah,
did, but I knew that was always going to be the case because I knew I just wasn't in that book. And you have to have within this business of acting, you must have a sense of being able to let things go. You know,
yeah,
there's a certain you can't be precious. You know, you can't hold on to things. You know, you must be willing to let go. You know, and that's a very important thing to know. So I was just very happy to like pass it on to Scamp and for that to be his movie. You know, because I felt, you know, that was his story, that was his film, that was his deal. You know, and I wanted him to have it. So I was very happy as well for Ben. You know,
yeah,
so great.
yeah. So like, did you like how was it? How was it different on set? Like filming, like you know, because you had a brief cameo in the third one. Like, how was it? Was it any different?
No, it was fine. It was really nice. It was just nice to get to go to Australia, to be honest with you, have a little
Oh,
holiday
okay.
for a few days, and
Yeah,
then then we had the premiere with the Queen, which was amazing. Um, and I was just happy to be a part of it.
that's awesome. So like, and so I'm a pretty big fan of like of like props and movie props and stuff. So
Yeah,
like I remember like earlier this year I watched like a little bit of Disney on Disney Plus prop culture.
yeah,
Uh, yeah. Do you like have any of those like props with you or like that you've kept like from the film?
I do. I had the sword. It's not with me now,
Yeah.
but I have it. And it's yeah, I was given the sword and I was given a sheath with my name on it and cleaning materials and things like that. So yeah, that's like probably the coolest thing I own in my whole world. It's the only thing I probably wouldn't part with. Uh, I say about letting go, right? I say about letting things go, but
Yeah.
that's one thing I'd find hard to let go.
Yeah. Um. So so have you read? So you said you've read the Silver Chair, right?
Right.
Yeah. Have you read any of the other books?
I've read most of them. I haven't read all of them, but I need to read all of them. But actually, I I pretty much have actually. No, pretty much. I think I need to finish The Horse and His Boy, and then I've done it. But yeah, I need to finish The Horse and His Boy. And actually, you know what? I'm a really big fan of audiobooks. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, so I'll get the audiobook of that one and I'll listen to it. Because yeah, I think there's something very relaxing about just sort of sitting back and listening to a story being told to you. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
love reading, but I love just like hearing it as well. I've been listening to an audiobook at the moment. I'm really interested in. Yeah,
That's cool. So do you have a favorite Narnia book?
Silver Chair. Well,
Silver.
I guess the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but the Silver Chair has something very interesting to it. You know, it has something very. It's a little like not that it's darker, but it's quite interesting with the giants and then Prince Caspian and the snake and like they're in the playground. There's the bullying. There's all these kinds of interesting things in it. So I love the Silver Chair. I hope that I hope they do a good job with the movies, but I mean I know they will, so it'll be good. It'll be cool.
So so I guess like in the second film, like it was Ben Barnes, right, that played Prince Caspian.
That's right.
Yeah. So how was it like um, uh, working with him? Like, because I mean, he kind of like had to share the limelight with him since he's like a new character emerging.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, Ben's amazing, and it's very lucky that we all got put together because we're all decent people, and I say that honestly, like we're all nice people. Like you never know who you're gonna have to end up working with, and like truly everybody from Georgie to Skander to Anna to Ben, like to Peter Dinklage to Tilda to James McAvoy to Liam Neeson, like to Sergio Castellito, like and Alina Filan, who played a lot of the other parts because she's Andrew Adamson's assistant, and she played a lot of the voices of the like beavers and things like that, and she'd get in the scene with us, and it was just like a very loving set. You know, it was a very like just a very very warm place to be. So I was very very lucky to work with everybody.
So like with the parts that where they had to do like use CGI, like did it take a while to get used to to get used to doing that? Like, you know, how did they like integrate CGI into like the film, like, and how did you film that?
They integrated CGI into the film by purely just keying it in later on. So mostly everything was like not a green screen. Mostly the sets were built, the locations were set. We flew out to places, we drove out. Sometimes we had to take a helicopter. Like it was like full on, you know.
Yeah.
But and then obviously like Peter Dinklage, his beard and all that was just that was just like, you know, that was just like a thing that they that put on him. And then
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, and then with the like with Aslan and the beavers and Morgrim the wolf and all that, we just used a tennis ball, just an eye line, and they keyed it in.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, that's pretty cool. So did you
Yeah.
have a favorite? Did you ever have a favorite scene that out of all the movies, both movies that you filmed?
You know, the battle scene in the first movie was epic. That was very, 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 very cool. And the riding of the horse, you know, like galloping that horse across the battlefield. Some things you never forget, and that was one of them.
Could you tell us a little bit more about that, like how they filmed the scene and, you know, some maybe special moments during that?
I'll tell you something funny, right? So I heard about Apocalypse Now, right? I don't know if
Yeah.
you must have seen Apocalypse Now.
I actually have not, unfortunately.
You have not seen Apocalypse Now?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna tell you a story about Apocalypse Now. So when they shot Apocalypse Now, they had like notoriously 10 cameras. They had more money than you can imagine, and they just sort of shot cameras from different angles. And they did this big opening shot, which you'll see when you watch the movie, of this like these planes coming down on the palm trees, and then the palm trees exploding, right? That was shot with that wasn't Francis Ford Coppola behind the camera. That was just some random AD that saw a camera, that grabbed it, that threw it on the ground, asked a guy to come over and turn the camera over and start filming it. So it wasn't like, you know, who was it that shot that? Vittorio Storaro. It wasn't Vittorio Storaro that set that shot up. It was some random AD. Anyway, when Francis Ford Coppola saw it, he's like, that's the opening of the movie. Like, that is mad. That's kind of like what happened with me with the battle scene, because not that I'm saying, you know, our movie's Apocalypse Now, but it's like what happened was the director was shooting something else, the second unit director was shooting something else, and we had a third unit basically, which was got a couple of guys with the camera on the back of a pickup truck, and they just, yeah, this is true, and they just decided,
That's awesome.
like, they were just driving along and they had the camera, they just turned it on, and then they just said, all right, William, just ride alongside the pickup truck and then just like take off. I was like, okay, and just put this thing down and then just take off. So that's just what I did. And then they just had that thing. And then, but when you see it in the movie, it doesn't look like it was 4 people just with a camera on the back of a pickup truck and a horse. You know, it looks like it looks epic beyond all imagination. Yeah. So that was really cool. And sometimes those small moments are, you know, just as good as like all the choreographed big moments.
Yeah. So so I guess like from the first to the second film, like with your character, how would you describe like how your character I guess changed and developed?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question and a very good question. So the way Peter changed was that I think you saw that he had that little fight in the underground, and basically, you know, he was struggling with going back to real life. He was struggling to be himself, you know, struggling to like not be a king of a land, and struggling to be a normal kid at school, and struggling in himself in a lot of ways. And he took that struggle into Narnia, and he made some really serious mistakes, you know, like he cost a lot of lives. He kind of ruled with his ego as opposed to his humility, you know.
Yeah.
You know, humility comes before a fall kind of thing, and like he took a big fall and he made a big mistake, and he kind of had to reevaluate himself, you know, in a lot of ways, and who he is now. And I think that's very interesting for all of us, you know. success doesn't always breed us into the most brilliant person. It doesn't always breed us into the most, perfect human being. We always have to be constantly reevaluating ourselves as people.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess like with with Liam Neeson like voicing Aslan, did you ever like get to meet him in person, or was it like kind of just like an afterwards he would just like do the voiceover?
Yeah, Liam shot all of his stuff afterwards, just with Andrew in the ADR room. But yeah, I've seen Liam at a few premieres, and then also we did a charity thing together in New York, at the Ronald McDonald House in New York, where they played the movie, and we went and saw kids that have, they're either going through chemotherapy, or they're in remission, or they're basically struggling. So Liam and I went there and saw these kids, and that was really great. And he's a big supporter of that charity, and so I was lucky that I got to really kind of have a good chat with him, and we did some good work together there.
So I guess like after Narnia, like how did like those films like prepare you for like your future acting career?
I think those films prepared me in such a way that I knew that I could do it. I knew that no matter how hard things got, I knew that I had that under my belt, and like it's kind of like a prize fighter. It's like you've been in the ring, you've really fought, you've really gone there, and so no matter what happens, like that experience and that understanding will always be with you, and that will always be a kind of a sounding block, for your future career. So actually, it's been an amazing thing for me to have.
So I have to ask, outside of King Peter, what other Narnia character would you like to play?
That's a good question. It's a really good question. Wow, I never even thought of that. Oh, I would like to be the professor when he was young in The Magician's Nephew.
Ah,
Yeah, because the professor, in the first movie, I think Professor Diggory, I think he's called, and when he was a child, he went to Narnia, and he was kind of tricked into it by his uncle, and he had a friend, and they went together. I think it was his friend. What was her name? I can't remember her name, but he went and he saw an amazing part of Narnia. He really saw the birth of Narnia. He saw the beginning of it. He saw how Aslan created everything, and he saw all of the aspects of it, And
yeah.
so I think him, when he was a child.
So like when you first met the professor on set, was that a set, or was that actual house that you like filmed in?
Do you know, that was all a set, but I'll tell you something interesting about that. So the first time I went into, so every part of the interior of the professor's house was just really very, very normal, very kind of as you would expect, professor's house, academic's home. It's dusty, suits of armor, dark, some greater or lesser degree. But the room with the wardrobe in, they had actually created an optical illusion with the set. So the beams were all created in a certain way that it made you feel like it was all going towards that wardrobe. So it was kind of the set was an optical illusion that the production designer had designed for the purposes of making you feel like you were kind of zoning in towards this wardrobe. Yeah. So that was really cool that they did that.
So that actually makes me remember. So I remember reading somewhere that Lucy, she actually, when she first like walked into the wardrobe and into like the frozen land of Narnia at that time, it was actually like a real reaction. It was the first time her ever seeing that. Is that right?
Right. It's 100% right. So what happened was Andrew was such a brilliant director in a lot of ways, because he knew that real reactions are better than fake reactions. And so he planned a lot of motion, a lot of points in the film where we would do something for real and he would just film it and then he would use that in the movie. So Georgie, who played Lucy, she hadn't seen that set, and basically what it was an old equestrian centre, and they dug 15 feet underground. They put in maybe 100 fake trees. They filled it with 1 ton of fake snow, which was paper. And I saw the set, but she hadn't. And basically what they did was they blindfolded her and carried her man to man into the middle of the set, put her behind the wardrobe, took the blindfold off, had her close her eyes. Then they turned the camera on, and then they said, all right, Georgie, open your eyes. And then she just started flipping out, when she saw it. And I think, to me, that is really one of the most beautiful moments in the whole film, because it's kind of like, how would you feel, if you saw that? And we cathartically experience it as an audience member, just watching her just be like, oh my God,
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so grateful to Andrew for creating moments like that for us as actors.
So I guess along with that, like so the director, like, capturing those moments, those first reactions, was there like one in particular that you kind of like wished you like knew beforehand, like that he actually was going to keep that in the film? Or
sorry, in what sense? Can you rephrase the question?
Yeah, like, was there a certain I guess scene that you wish you did differently, maybe, with like a first reaction?
I don't. I feel really happy with like the work in that film. I feel really proud of it. I was 17. I'd never been on a set before. I didn't know what was going on. I was just trying to like get through it and do the best I could.
Yeah, and learning experience. Yeah,
teenager. Sure. No, I was only 17 years old. I was just a teenager. Like, I was living on my own most of the time. I was halfway around the world for my family. Like, I didn't even know how to like put the dishwasher on. Like, I had to call my mum once and say like, I don't know how to turn this dishwasher on. I don't know how to do the washing up. Like, where do I look? She said, look under the sink. And I was like, oh yeah. And so I did, and like, I think I did an amazing job to be that young, to like make it through all that.
So sorry, I don't know how much time you have, but I just wanted to ask, so what movie franchise would you or director would you want to work with the most?
I mean, it's funny because the first name that came to my mind, I don't even know why, but I mean, and I'm going to say like 3, maybe, or 4. But I'd love to work with like, I love the work that David Fincher did with Brad Pitt in Fight Club and in Seven. Mm-hmm. They were 2 beautiful movies, brilliantly like executed. I love Steven Spielberg's films, because like Catch Me If You Can was one of those films I saw when I was a kid, and like we used to go on holiday, and like they had a little cinema near where we were staying, and I remember going to see that movie with DiCaprio and Tom Hanks, and I just loved it. I just felt like it was just so beautiful the way that he'd kind of like made that film happen. And actually the same thing with like James Cameron on Titanic. I remember seeing that for the first time and not knowing that DiCaprio was going to die, and then like literally being like in floods of tears. And I've never seen the film again. It traumatized me so much. But films, those sorts of films in that kind of region, like David Fincher, Steven Spielberg, like Darren Aronofsky, some of the films that he's made, like, they're films that take you to a different place, right? Kind of like what Narnia does, but in a different way. Like, they take you somewhere. Like they give you something. Like, they're well made, they're well executed, they're well thought out. There's something about them that like you leave feeling full. You don't leave feeling empty,
Yeah.
And if I can work on any films like that, like I will do it, and sometimes that can be smaller films. Like I know I'm not like the stage of like Steven Spielberg or David Fincher, or Darren Aronofsky, but like I'm making some smaller films at the moment that I'm really proud of, you know, and I believe that those films can have a transcendent feeling as well. You know, you can sit down, you can watch them, and you can get something back, you know.
Yeah.
So I try to give them, you know, the best performance I can to them, and also just enjoy, you know, being on set and enjoy the process of making the movie, you know.
Yeah. So what are some films you're working on right now?
Right. So this year is going to be a great year. You know, last year I shot this movie called Land of Dreams, which is kind of an art movie with this Iranian visual artist called Shireen Nishat. And that's just going to be a very beautiful movie about a census worker who's sort of employed by the government to find out about people's dreams, because the government wants to know what's going on in their unconscious. And then, but the next movie's coming up this year. And I also have a little like movie that's a little like kind of like It's a Wonderful Life that I shot that will be coming out. But the movies I'm going to be making, one is about a prize fighter in the 1800s, like a bare knuckle boxing film. And then I've got another little horror movie I'm going to make, which is a good script. But what I'm really excited for is I'm going to be playing Davy Crockett in a movie.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah. So it's all about him in the frontier, and it's all about him, like, you know, just him like as the wild man that he was. So we're going to shoot that in Tennessee in August, and they want to make it like The Revenant. You know, they want it to have that kind of vibe. So I think it's going to be an amazing film to make, and for me, that's like totally up my street. You know.
Yeah.
After that, I'm meant to play Edgar Allan Poe in a movie as well, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, it's going to be an amazing year. It's going to be a good year.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Is there anything else you'd like to, I guess, like tell me that you haven't told me about your experience on Narnia?
I wonder if there's one more thing I could tell you that might be of interest. So when we shot, when we shot the movies, the first movie especially, we didn't know it was going to be a success. I know actors always say that. You always hear like people say, "I didn't know it was going to be a success. I didn't know it was going to be." Honestly, like I'd never been on a set before. You know, I've been on like a BBC thing as an extra. Like I had never really done anything, and I didn't know what it was going to be like. And suddenly, like, we were meeting Prince Charles, you know, like at the premiere, and then we were like flown all over the world, and like we were like suddenly these like kind of child stars, you know, like that I'm still talking about now, 15 years later, or you know, however many years it was from 2004, and it's 20, so it's been 17 years, right?
Yeah.
But you know, I just feel so grateful that I was around good people, you know, like that's been the kind of the defining part of myself. And I never wanted to become like a brat, you know, or like a just somebody that wasn't present, you know, wasn't me. I didn't want to lose me. More than anything, I wanted, like I said to all my friends, like, don't let it happen to me. Like, you know, like my family were like, you know, always keep me real, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm not like DiCaprio or something, but I'm me, and I'm happy that I have, to a greater lesser degree, kept myself. You know, whatever I build from here will be good because I've kept an element of my spirit of where I'm from and who I am, and that's all you can say to somebody who's starting out, or somebody that is about to make their career happen, or someone who's about to get on a TV show, or someone who's about to like fly off. Like, make sure that you, like somebody said to me once, make sure you don't forget where you come from. Make sure you remember where you come from, because that is really the only thing that counts. That's the most solid thing that you'll ever have.
Yeah, for sure. Do you plan on making any films with the original cast of Narnia?
If I get offered it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. So what is one thing you'd like to say to fans of Narnia?
I'd just like to say thank you so much for your support over the years. You know, thank you so much for your dedication, your love for it, your continued support, your continued energy behind it. You know, I did some I raised $10,000 for charity during lockdown by doing shout outs and Cameo, and that's mostly Narnia fans, you know, and that money is going to a good cause, and I really appreciate all of you, and I am very, very grateful.